Tell me, are you ready to find your weird way? Weird was a concept that was spoken of long ago. It meant fate, it meant destiny, it meant your path in life. I'm your host, Dean Bentley, and I am here to explore how you can connect to your own path in life, to know the essence of your own soul, to connect to that single spark that lives within the deepest recesses of your being that says, "This is why I am here," to go beyond the limitations, the constrictions of the modern world, and open you to the possibilities and the potentiality of what is possible within this world. Join me as we dive deep on the weird way. People have often told me I'm wise or I'm an old soul. Now, I believe there may be some truth in that. I feel like I've lived many lifetimes. Yet, one thing is very apparent to me, and that is how little I truly know. I started a lot of this spirituality of, understanding this world, this universe, and I noticed how much of myself was coming from fear and coming from control. If I can know it all, if I can have a sense of how everything works and why this happens and why that happens, and I can explain it and sound like I know what I'm talking about, I can feel safe. Now, in that, there was a part of me that felt really unsafe. A wounded boy who thought that if he could control the world around him and manipulate it in the way where his ego could meet what was happening and think he created it, then he would feel okay. And when things didn't go according to plan, he would be angry, resentful, frustrated, victimized, and annoyed at the universe for giving him something else. And this is something I'm tracking within the spiritual space, within a lot of the New Age movement, a lot of different elements of magic and the occult. And while there's some beautiful elements of this, there's an element where that isn't spoken into, where people are moving from fear. They're moving from control. They're looking to use awareness as a tool to manipulate reality so their ego can feel safe. Now, while there is some brilliance in this, what can occur if the magician and the dark or the shadow magician come at play where the person is trapped in their tower of their own mind and they don't know how to meet life? There's a dissociation that occurs, and I know this all too well. So, weird ways, welcome back to another week. Welcome back to another episode. This feels like a topic I really want to dive into because there's an element here which I believe life right now is intense to be human in this world. There's a lot happening that is hard to explain, hard to see what is happening. And if you are trying to control it all, it's probably going to limit you. It's probably going to burn out your capacity because there's too much happening for us to control. And there's a realization of our own limitation as humans. And though our souls and our spirits are infinite, there is a real limitation to we can do as a singular human. And I speak to that because when we go into a lot of more occult magic circles. And for those of you who don't know, this was a big part of my journey where I was using a lot of rituals and magic and manifestation to create certain results. Now, I'm not against that, but there was, for me in that time, an attachment to outcome. And this is the real block that occurs for a lot of people is there's an attachment to an outcome. And if it doesn't go the way that you want it, if you're doing the manifestation, if you're doing the rituals and you're doing everything everyone's told you to do and it's not getting you the results you want, well, there can be this frustration because it's like, well, I'm doing everything right. And just hear the language in that. What does that sound like? I'm doing everything right. For me, there's the entitled child within that. This is an aspect that all of us will have to deal with, this entitlement within ourselves that we should be entitled to something. And while I believe this world is here for us and it is here to support us and help us grow and really show us what we are able to create and our potential, I deeply believe that it's here to shape us into reaching our potential so we can create what we want. But a big part of that that stops us is the entitlement, which can then stem into victimization, where it's like, well, this isn't fair. And what if it's not? What if it isn't fair, but reality is trying to test you to show you what you're actually capable of? Because this is a piece. If it's here in your reality, you haven't learnt the lesson. You haven't grown beyond what you're experiencing. And now that's confronted because you are the only one who can create change, who can meet what is occurring and create a shift that is going to impact you and those around you. So when we're stuck in this, when we're in the victimization or in this sense of entitlement that says, I did all the tools and techniques and I didn't get what I wanted, well, there's been an outsourcing in this. And the outsourcing is to everyone else who you are believing knows the best way or is telling you this is how you should do it, this is what you should do, this is how you're going to create what you're here to create. Well, you can learn from other people, and I believe in the role of mentorship. It's why I do what I do. It's why I've worked with some brilliant people, and I believe that a lot of those who have walked the path that has similarities or parallels to our own can share a lot of wisdom and help support us in our own. If we are not coming back to our own internal sense of wisdom, intuition, and sense of direction, we're going to outsource. And this is where the victimization comes in because there's an element of trying to please the universe or manipulate it by being the good boy, good girl, and doing everything right that just isn't going to cut it. Because life wants you to mature, it wants you to grow into who you're here to be. And that means breaking down some of the old levels of reality and parallels that you've been living. It's really going to ask that you step into something else. And that means you're going to have to let go of your entitlement to really sit with, hey, what have you cultivated? What has life showed you exists for you right now? And if it isn't what you want, what is the lesson here? And this isn't to say maybe you're doing something wrong. This is the thing. People can go into this and then start to say, well, I'm not getting what I want, so maybe I'm doing something wrong and it's all my fault. Well, yes. And there's this nuance to this because I love nuance. If you've been listening to this, you know I love the complexity of life. And I'm sharing from a place where it's like, these are ideas and you need to go test this. I'm sharing pieces that for yourself take and test. See if this is true for you. See if this is going to serve you. See if you can apply this to your life and from there grow. Because a lot of us are trying to find the perfect way, the right way to do this life, and there isn't one. There's ones which lead you deeper home to yourself and who you're here to be and what you're here to bring to this world. I deeply believe that. And when we're connected to ourselves, it makes our world even more beautiful, more potent, and we find a sense of courage, strength, and presence that allows us to walk our own path. But if you're looking for someone else to tell you how to do it, you're given away an element of your power and what you're here to work out for yourself because it's very easy to be told how to live your life. That is a lot of what we've been told. The conditioning speaks to this. You go to uni, you get a good job, you work that job, you retire, and then you finally live your life and then you die. That's some of the conditioning. But look, your life has already been mapped out, the entirety of it. What do you want? Is that it? Is that what you want? Because there needs to be a deeper question here of what you truly want and what you're here for. That won't do. If you're here to live a life that you truly desire, that won't do. You need to determine what you're here for and what you're wanting to create and move towards that. And so going back to this piece, if you're not getting the results you want. Why is that? Is it because you actually want the fins? Maybe you need to commit harder. Maybe you're not meeting what you need to meet. Or maybe life is showing you something. Maybe you've been going down a road that has a dead end and isn't here for your soul. Maybe you're being asked to really realize and ask yourself, what do you really want? Because I find when there's a sense of alignment, when I'm connected to myself, things happen. I can't explain it. And this is why there's some forces in this universe that we can't truly explain. We can have the language, we can test it. There's been so many experiences that I can speak into that do not make sense. The synchronicities and the way the universe has supported me and opened me and shown me that there is things that are supporting me that I do not have any control over, or that are trying to direct me to what I'm here to do. It's beautiful, it's wonderful. And if you've had those experiences, you know what I'm talking about. But you're not going to be able to control it all. And control comes from the ego, it comes from the aspect of ourselves that is still trying to sit outside of life, where it's like, "Ooh, I'm not ready to enter into it." Because when you're in life, you can't control it. When you're fully present, you can't control. You can meet, you can be present, you can direct, but it's not control. It's not, I know what's going to happen after this. When you're present, there's going to be so much unknown, because that's when life opens. That's when possibilities stream through you, because no longer are you living in the stories in your head, which most likely come from childhood and who you've been told to be. You're actually living. You're living in a moment that goes beyond anything you've ever known. And that comes when you enter into life, when you let go of the fear that your mind is projecting onto this current experience that says you should be a certain way, that is still trying to limit you, make you a certain way. If you actually let go and enter the moment, you have to leave the tower. You have to leave the room the magician stays in and says, I know everything and I can just control and do the ritual. You have to enter into life and see what it shows you. And this is the role of the fool who doesn't know, who admits, I know nothing. I am going to begin this journey anyway. And this is what is scary. For many of us, myself included, we do not know as much as we think. We don't have it all worked out. I teach this, I share this, I, work with people to help them live a better life. And I don't know so much. And I can say that, and that's what opens me to the possibilities, because it's not me that needs to control it all. It's not me that needs to know it all. All I need to do is have faith, have strength, have belief that something is guiding me. That when I step in true, connected to my heart, and I move in the direction that I'm here to move, well, there's something else that's going to take care of the rest. That life is going to meet me halfway. That when I step in and when I say, I'm here for this, life is going to say, I'm here for you. And this is why the unknown is scary, because we're given faith and power to something bigger than ourselves. And in our modern age where we spend our entire lives trying to make things safer, more secure, more systems that make sure we run more efficient, the unknown is scary to many of us. We don't know what's going to happen out there, and it terrifies us. If we were to enter this moment and see what was to happen, if we were to say the thing that deep in our soul that hasn't been expressed, well, what might happen? The fears come up. This world might crumble. I might lose everything. Well, yes, you might. In the end, you do anyway. So, do you want to spend your life living in fear, saying, I don't know if I'm ever going to live? Or you got to enter into life to let those pieces of yourself speak that haven't spoken yet, that haven't been heard, that have asked so many times to be heard. That's why the voices in your mind scream so loud, because they want to be heard. You want to be heard. You want to be expressed. You want to be known. You want to be seen and heard. And when you don't do that, you suffocate in your own mind trying to work it all out, trying to figure it out and try and know the best possible way forward. and it doesn't work. You don't get to live in the tower. You can pretend that that is being alive, that standing in the tower and feeling the power of knowledge. It's seductive. It draws you away because you can learn everything. There's so much potential right now to learn. But why do you learn? Do you do it for a greater sense of control? Oh, and let me get a few of you here. If you're dating and you study astrological charts beforehand, why? Does it allow you to put a person in a box? Does it make you pretend that you know what's going to happen before it occurs? Because some of it may be true, but where are you closing yourself off to possibility? And yes, there can be a beautiful learning in this and a teaching that says, okay, maybe I need to be aware of something and this is something for me to consider. But so many people are living in boxes that keep them disconnected from life, that keep them from entering this beautiful moment where a million possibilities stream forth. And that can't be found in a limitation, in a moment of control that comes from the magician. Now, the magician can serve life. Do not get me wrong. Do not throw out the knowledge and the wisdom that he brings. Just help him enter into life. Remind him he gets to learn to be in service to life, that his knowledge can be life given, that can be in support of life, that does not have to limit life. In our Western culture, the magician is often the archetype that rules, the shadow magician, the one who lives in the dark, hidden corners and tries to rule it all, to know it all, to protect all. But he doesn't keep people safe. He keeps them limited. He keeps them small. He keeps the parts of himself that he's afraid of. And I say himself, and I also mean herself, that keeps them in the dark. Because when you come out of that tower, you realize you are the fool, that you have to learn that if you haven't used your voice or you haven't learned how to do that thing, that there is no other way. When you leave the tower, you realize your own limitations. You realize how little you know, and the ego is confronted with itself. If you've always imagined yourself learning a skill, and you've told yourself, oh, you could learn that, but you never have. And then you leave the tower and say, I'm going to learn. What are you confronted with? You are confronted with the fact that it's probably harder than you think, that maybe you're not as great as you think, or not as great yet, and that the devotion it takes to truly develop something, that is something else. And that is our work. And this is why I'm so passionate about people learning something. It doesn't matter. It could be a language, it could be a musician, a instrument, it could be poetry, it could be writing, it could be anything. But in the process of learning something new, we are confronted with ourselves. We are confronted with the aspects of ourself that still hide, that run away, that, you know, all our patterns come up. Oh, you don't think you're good enough to learn. Oh, you don't have time. You don't think it's worth doing. Whatever it is, maybe the underlying beliefs come up. Oh, you couldn't sing anyway. You couldn't learn an instrument. Oh, you shouldn't take up that much space. We begin to see ourselves. And if you truly learn something, you must confront all of those aspects of oneself. We are creators. And this is one of the most potent ways to leave the tower, to leave the shadow magician. When you come into life and realize that, hey, you're here to live. You're here to be in life. You're here to be in the devotion of what it takes to build, create, and move towards something. And that's not easy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it is. It's going to challenge you. It's going to test you. It's going to ask, are you capable? And this is where you get to stand in your greatness. Because only when you confront those parts of yourself, and what you are confronting is your unconscious material. This is the bucket work of myth. This is the ashes work. This is our alchemical process where we meet the dense material of ourself and we begin to slowly transform it. This takes time. It's not a short process. It's not quick. It's not instant. It requires tendon, devotion. It requires us to move towards it and show up again and again and meet the aspects of self that come up in the process, because they are not pretty. They are not pretty at all. You know, some of my own have told me I'm worthless, that I'm no one, that I have no voice, that I have nothing important to share, that no one cares for me, that I'm alone. These are some of the ones that can speak when I'm passionate about something, when I'm like, I really want to do this. And they get a bit louder because I'm moving towards them. I'm moving towards the fear. I'm moving towards the parts of myself that have remained hidden until I began shining the light. And they're there to be met. They're not there to challenge me, but they're there because I haven't loved those aspects of me yet. And this is the same for you. We all have these aspects, and we normally treat them as an obstacle, one to conquer. But we conquer ourselves in that, and not in a good way. We conquer ourselves through the shutting down certain components of ourselves. And what we want to do is bring them into the light. Because when I get to know the parts of myself that tell me no one cares about me, if I go into that, if I really drop beneath the layer of that, what do I get to see? I get to see the little boy who didn't feel he was loved, who tried so hard to love everyone else and didn't feel he got any love, who didn't know how to receive, who didn't feel safe. And when I be with him, I help him feel a little bit safer. I open more to life. I realize I am safe, that it's okay to be loved, that it's safe to be loved. And I get to let down some of my walls. And it's the same when I meet the part of me that says I have nothing to say. And I see that same boy, a bit older, who didn't feel he had anything to add to his family, whose voice didn't feel important. And I get to show him that he does have something important, that I do stand for him, that I do care what he has to say. Even if no one else listens, I listen. And this is an important thing when we're healing. We do it for ourselves. We do it for all of us. And we do it for ourselves first because that is the most important thing. It doesn't matter if no one else hears, if you truly hear, if you truly listen to yourself in those moments and find the ways in, because everything is inviting us home. Everything is asking us to meet ourselves and find our entryway into the deepest parts of our own being and our own soul. We just have to learn how to listen. And often we can push away or resist or say that's not welcome or not important or not anything that is related. But if you truly meet it and get to know it, that voice is important. Each voice is important. I've always imagined it as the king's court, and though the king is the most important, he needs all his people. And a good king listens. He knows how to listen, and if he doesn't, the rot sets in. The voices get louder. Turmoil happens internally because there was no listening. There was no listening. And this is what we can struggle with as a culture, to know how to listen. And you can practice this with people, to listen beyond the words, to actually hear what they're saying when they say something. Do you hear the hurt in their voice? Do you hear the passion, the love? Do you step backwards for a moment and realize that there is more here than what you knew? And maybe not make it about you right now. Truly listen. See if you can do that in a conversation. Listen, ask, go deeper. See what is beneath the surface and what is living inside, because it may surprise you. And the more we can enter into life, the more we can leave the tower and see that there is such wonder, such beauty when we begin to move downwards into this life. Leaving, and not leaving, but using all, even the mind, as an entry into ourselves. Because that's where we find the aspects of ourselves that still believe they need to control. Because we all have them. We all just want to feel safe, to feel loved. But it's an illusion that it comes from the world out there. It comes when you meet yourself and show yourself that you're there, regardless of what is happening outside of you, regardless of what is going on, regardless of all the other pieces happening in your life. Are you going to meet yourself? Because no one can do that for you. No one can do the work that you're here to do. This is your responsibility and the peace that you're meant to bring to this world. And I say that because it is so important that you meet yourself right now. It is so important that you learn how to come home when life is chaos, when all is happening and you don't know what to do. And you watch your mind try and control it all and figure it all out and know everything it can do to make the right move so everything happens the way that it wants it. So important that you meet yourself, because when you do that, you create the safety for yourself slow, to not need to fix it all right now, to begin to ask the question of what is life asking from you. And in that, you will find a new space within yourself that is beyond the fear, that is beyond the control. And you may even find that you begin to live for the first time in a way that you never knew how, and that there is more to this life than you've ever dreamed possible. And it's not about controlling it, it's not about getting all the results or the outcomes that you want, but it's about being in life so deeply that it helps you meet life more and more and more. So, my friends, weird wayers, this is your invitation. How can you meet life? How can you enter into it? How can you enter into this precious moment that is being offered to you so you may come home?